But I hope you've had a good night's sleep, a good afternoon sleep. And wherever you are, whenever you're watching, this is Vikas, your co admin, back. And you might notice I do not have my fellow co admin because he's already started slacking. Time to get him off his butt. But we are joined by his honor, Sham Kumar, she, him, shame. Sham, however you pronounce it. But man who deserves no introduction, man who needs no introduction,
Deserves no
here he
introduction.
is, Sham Kumar. Long time,
Right.
buddy. It's been almost 6 months since I've chatted with you in general, but it's also been more than a year since you've joined a stream. How have you been?
You don't want any boring people on, right? You only want to bring your buddy, your funny buddies, and then still talk about me the whole video, but just without me on there.
You took it to heart, huh? We didn't say anything mean. I didn't
Yeah,
say anything mean. You do know that I have utmost respect for you.
yeah.
It
Been
was it was
reading,
Yuri who was talking shit.
yeah, I've been reading two jokes every morning to try and be funny. It's not working yet.
It's always weird having two people on the stream, more than two people on the stream, I should say, is the dynamics change a lot. I am the serious one. I don't have a sense of humor, so it's always useful to have someone with a sense of humor around. That's why I wanted to kick it off with Yuri, and also Yuri's a co-admin. He better do some work. He hasn't done anything for the spreadsheet yet,
Yeah,
so.
guys don't have spreadsheet, no predictions. We'll be halfway through the season before nothing is outrageous anymore.
No, I do have some time tomorrow. I'll make sure the spreadsheet's updated. I think all the cells and the formulae behind the cells are all intact. I just need to import all the fixtures. Haven't had the time to do that. But a lot's been happening on the
Hmm.
footballing front. Your team has been going through a tumultuous time, to call it to put it lightly. Whereas the team I support, the jersey I put on last time around, is has never seen a start like this. At least from a fan popularity point of view, also the general vibe that the club gives out. I don't think I've been this excited for a season yet in the last at least 15 years or so.
Well, it looks like you have a reason to be excited apart from that very shitty all or nothing documentary that was so horrible. But we signed Casemiro, top three midfield, dude. Top three midfield in the
Breaking
league now.
news.
Yeah.
Breaking
And
news.
I
I think
don't know
this
if we've
was
signed
announced
him.
a couple of hours before we went live.
Yeah, I don't know if you've signed him yet, but yeah, I am excited, unlike all the other killjoys in our group. I mean, of course, United have problems and stuff, but we've been crying out for a DM for, I don't know, 10 years, and we've got one. So, and I try to be in a good mood. So I think you should enjoy that moment at least. He might turn out to be
Ex-
shit,
ex-
whatever.
Exactly. And I do use the word world class very lightly, but Casemiro is a world class defensive midfielder. He's played at the highest levels for Real Madrid, of course, like won countless Champions Leagues, won like
Yeah.
shitloads of La Liga titles, and obviously like a Brazil international. What else can you ask for? Sure, like 60 million pounds,
I mean, we,
dollars,
we,
it
can,
doesn't
we
really
can ask
matter.
for a lot of things. But anyway, let's not talk about that. I'm just happy that we have a DM. That's all. But we don't need to like spend time on it.
You have a DM and you no longer need Ericsson playing in the DM role.
Dude, Casemiro, Ericsson, Bruno, and Fred. That's a killer midfield three out of those
You
four.
know, had you offered Manu that front or the midfield for about 2 or 3 years ago, any single fan would have just grabbed it with both hands and just gone. And it might have actually been really good during the Mourinho era. Mourinho would have begged and like died for that midfield back in the day. But anyway, uh, like you said, I do have a reason for cheer. Arsenal sitting, well, not really top of the table, or are Arsenal top of the table? Might be,
No,
I don't know, but sitting
two.
two wins out of two
Oh yeah,
games.
no, that's right. Yeah, but you're probably
Uh,
behind a goal difference or something, right?
On goal
to
difference,
City.
oh god, like the two goals we conceded against Leicester City. We'll talk about your wild card soon, but I think,
Spoiler alert.
as spoiler alert, exactly, as we don't really have an agenda, we just wanted to chat, kind of wing it. We have a few things to discuss, like your two wild card drafts and your general FPL season. But
Mm-hmm.
other than that, just wanted to chat.
I have questions. I want to ask about Arsenal. I want to ask what else you're
Let's do
seeing,
it.
stats and stuff. But yeah, I mean, for any hi Marco, you're the only one watching, even though you're freezing in Norway somewhere, I imagine. So yeah, I don't think anybody else cares about the video, so it's fine. We can
That is
talk.
dedication. I did notice that he's having his Europe trip vacation, honeymoon, but he's on a Europe trip right now.
Yeah.
And yet he ended up watching the entire video, the entire 25 minutes of the first video. And I have to say, that video generated the most views of any other Wenger Margulis video. We went from 6 views to about 37 views. So that's 600% increase,
37.
Sham.
37 is how do you get? We don't even have. Well, we have what? 18?
Exactly.
16 people in the league. Your
We're
parents
18
were
people
watching it.
on the
Your
WhatsApp
parents,
thread.
Katie. Your parents, Katie, that's 19. Who else? Who are the other 18 people? Do you
I
make your
have
team
no
watch
idea.
it? To show them your
Like,
fancy backlight and all of that and OBS skills.
I don't have any OBS skills, Sham. I'm just using this tool called Restream right now. But we did chat pre-recording that OBS is going to be next in line. And I actually, like, I wanted to talk about the league.
Yeah,
I kind of want this to be an open platform for all of us, just to do videos, chat, like create discussion boards for any challenges that they have, right? I mean, you and I, we were chatting on WhatsApp about your wild card draft. Can't say those words, but you and I, we were chatting about your wild card drafts and just wanted to talk through options, talk football, and here we are, right? I mean, there's no planning, nothing. We just want videos to come out. We just want like conversations to flow. So I'll create something like a template for us to use on OBS, and that's something that
cool.
um,
Yeah,
it's currently on my back burner, but a to-do list for in the next 2 weeks, so that all of us we can just show our turn on our cameras, turn on our mics, and just start recording.
yeah. I think you should ignore the jaded old guys and get the new guys to be more active. I think there's more potential there.
Absolutely. Who are the new guys? I've completely lost count of who's old and who's new.
Shikhar, Rohit, Rohan. Cool. I got all the names correct and the
You
faces
did,
correct.
you did.
So, yeah.
I like how Wenger Margulis also connects people. I just saw a post where Shikhar and Rohan. Is it Rohan or is it Rohan? Always meant to ask him that, but Rohan, if you're listening, can you confirm that on the WhatsApp thread? But yeah, I just saw that Shikhar and R just hung out in Toronto, and that was
Yeah.
pretty cool. Love it
Don't they?
when
They don't know
people
each other from earlier, right? Do they?
do they. I don't see how, because I thought Gaurang introduced R to the WhatsApp group and Wenger Margulis.
This is great video content, by the way.
Yeah, so you had a few questions. I love to be on the receiving end of questions, not just the bearer of questions.
Okay, my main question is about Arsenal itself, and because I'm obviously doing the wildcard, I am activating wildcard. I haven't activated it yet. Or maybe we can talk about that first, and then I'll ask you the Arsenal questions in there.
Yeah, let's do that. Let me share what
Oh,
you
okay.
had sent over. So I'll share your current team right now, Sham. So that's on the screen right now. Of course, you don't see the right screen. Let me redo this. And there we go. Is that a better visual? And
That's the
apparently,
that's not my current team.
it is not.
No.
This
Yeah,
one is your current team.
yeah.
So let's talk through your current team, where the holes are, what you would like to plug in, and maybe then
Yeah,
discuss
so
whether you should even
I'll
activate your wild card.
yeah, so I'll be quick, right? So I just brought in James this week, so I didn't have in my team. It was uh, Dean from Villa who was there, who got 0 points in the first 2 weeks, while everybody else was at 5 million, like Trippier, Zinchenko, Walker, all of them have like 12, 14 points, and so obviously that was a wrong. Well, that pick didn't work out. I started the season with Son, so first game against Southampton, got an assist, nothing else. And then that week I saw Nunes play. Watched the highlights of the Community Shield as well, and I immediately wanted him in my team. I was like, this guy's changing how Liverpool's playing. I don't even know how Salah does with him and all of that. So I decided to gamble and sell Son for a hit and brought in Darwin. And of course, he gets sent off. He still has in 90 minutes. I was just checking FB ref earlier. In 90 minutes, he has a higher XG than Jesus and Haaland still in 90 minutes. So I'm not going to beat myself about that pick. But where I did go, obviously looks like mistakes at least, is Bailey, Neto. So it's the fringe guys. It's not so much, and the main guys are fine, but the fringe guys. So and the keepers, I went with the 8 million Leicester, but now it looks like Fafana's leaving, so I don't want them either. Because otherwise, I thought at least they'll be decent, not last season bad. But yeah,
Yeah.
so that was my team. Those were my transfers. I think 13th in our league right now, very close to the bottom on purity. So, yeah, I'm like, do I know I can just change, like I brought in James and I can change a couple of things and be fine. But then I'm looking at it and saying, hold on, there's no real good time to wildcard from what I see in terms of fixtures. So I just want to get it over with, frankly.
Really. So I think first things first. I know you're focused a bit on the purity. You know this more than anybody, that it's just game week 2, 2 weeks of like 2 weeks, two captaincy picks. It's going to swing, and league position does not really matter at this point, because you're probably what, just 30 points behind the leader,
Yeah,
who is Phil at this point. So we
it
know
was
that Phil's
you.
not going to. I think it was Phil. I think Phil has two
Okay,
more points
you're
than
like
me.
1 point. Yeah, 1 or 2. Anyway, you're right up there. So
Yeah.
this is the top of the pack was and the bottom of the pack talking right now.
After 2 weeks, I wouldn't read much into that. You know that. But before game week 2, having Jesus, Darwin, and Haaland was my dream front three. Um, I am extremely so I don't have Haaland right now, and he's obviously gone up by point 0.1. I can't afford him anymore. But having like Haaland is probably someone I respect a lot. I don't think I'm going to have him in my team all season, because I'm more of a bargain hunter when it comes to the forwards, at least. And I actually think that Jesus Darwin can match Haaland over 8 or 9 weeks. And one thing is, one, I really want him because FOMO, because I don't want to be watching City games without him in my squad. And secondly, he's an absolute beast of a talent. The things that I don't like are like Haaland's probably not going to start all 38 games. Like, I have put him around 20 to 22 starts out of 38 overall, and I don't know how he's going to play against a low block, which is exactly what we saw against Bournemouth. I mean, he had 10 touches of the ball in 90 minutes, which is one touch every 9 minutes. And for a leading man at City, just to have 10 touches is just ridiculously low. So I think I like the front three. Obviously, Darwin is a big hole. Haaland is not my type of a guy.
Darwin is not a hold.
But
He's out for 3 weeks. So he's suspended for three
right,
weeks.
right. Yeah. So you have to fill up Darwin's position with someone else. But the rest of your team actually looks really solid. So if you look at your midfield, right, Martinelli, I won't call him a fringe player. I wouldn't be worried about ESR yet. I think ESR will start games, game week 5 onwards. Salah, Neto had really good chances this past week. He should have at least completed one or two. I think they played Fulham, right? I mean, the Fulham goalkeeper just had a blinder. There were a couple of like sitters that he missed, but still, I wouldn't write him off yet. Andreas is going to be on your bench. Salah is in everyone's team. Martinelli is really good. Bailey, I would be a bit concerned about, but I wouldn't necessarily call them fringe players. I mean, most FPL teams have them. I feel like you have a great advantage with both Jesus and Haaland in your team. And just for the one Darwin hole, I would not necessarily change your entire structure. Just my thoughts. And again, you're just in game week 3. You still don't know who's coming in terms of signings across the board. You still don't know, like you said, right? Like Fofana can leave, and you might want to change your goalkeepers who are currently sitting at on Leicester. So I would just wait at least 2 more weeks, get more data, and then this season is going to be really weird, especially with the World Cup and 5 substitutions. So you want to wait for as long as you can. Anyway, just my 2 cents.
Yeah, I mean, it's the most, what you're saying, like, feels like the most sensible thing to do in terms of get more information, see more things, and then wait it out. But I don't, I already feel like I'm set up. I'll just be chasing moves right now. And I don't mean chasing moves compared to others. I just mean chasing moves in terms of Bailey, I don't want him in my team. Neto, I already know I don't want him in my team. Not that he can't score. He can score, any week. And he might do something. But I already, like, I've seen enough of that Wolves to know that they're not, their new signings, Guedes and Nunes, they might be really good and that might take a little while. But do I really want to wait and watch with that spot for the whole time? And remember, I'm also playing one of Patterson, Williams, and Andreas every week in the structure, right? So just because I'm actually starting one of them, it's not like they've been sitting on the bench. So that has changed things. So I look at that and say, yeah, I'm just going to be chasing wide. And I don't know if you remember, like 2 years ago, we had done that preseason video where I
Yep.
spoke about
Yep.
early wildcard. And I still think it's the most important decision you make in the whole season is when do you do your first wildcard. And usually we have a long first half of the season, and because we play H2H, we play our second wildcard ideally around 33, 34. So you want to delay your first wildcard as much as possible. And I still end up playing around 8 or 10, when like fixtures shift and stuff. Right now, we have a wild card during the World Cup, so it's really already only 15 weeks before my next wild card. And then I'm looking at what am I really going to lose out on by mixing? If there are major injuries around, fine, but then everybody's got them, so I'm like, whatever. I'm pretty
Yeah.
set, not just sitting with a team that I don't like and waiting one transfer every week and already taking hits. So I'm like, no, I'd rather change that
Hmm.
now.
I mean, so I get the point that you need to play a wild card early. You don't want to wait until game week 8, 9, 10. I'm just saying that wait until at least August 31st, which is 2 more weeks, until the transfer season shuts, until, Manu can start. I mean, I'm not bullish, but I'm confident that a Manu asset will emerge. Someone like a Rashford will maybe get more time playing up front. Ronaldo might leave. There are so many combinations and so many opportunities that you might want to pounce on in a week or two. I feel like the risk payoff right now is way lower compared to what it might be 2 weeks from now. But at the same time, I think another point was, like, why rush into things? Because you mentioned, you might want that you have to play one of Andreas Patterson or Neko Williams in your squad. I feel like you can still. I mean, you can easily play a 3-4-3, which is James, Trent, Cancelo,
Yeah, well,
Martinelli, Salah,
that's
Neto.
because I got Darwin in, like, before that I had Son and Archer, right? So I had a four
Yeah,
fodder structure, so which was different. Yeah, I mean, I could play that. I don't know. I guess let's
I feel
talk
like you
about the wildcard drafts, and then I'll tell you where I'm seeing like the opportunity to move, which is again a risk. And I know you guys have been talking about how it's important to play safe early in the season and stuff. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm not
There, I mean,
feeling it right now.
there was a huge debate about it on in the fantasy Premier League community, that a couple of videos talked about it. And go with the
Yeah,
template right
math,
now,
that
make
math, I
changes.
remember what you were talking about, but that math to me still doesn't make sense. But anyway, I'm not good enough at maths to know what the correct answer
So
would be.
neither am I, but this is one wildcard option that you shared with me,
Yeah.
and I'll just point out the few things that stuck out to me that you're wildcarding for. One is obviously Raheem Sterling.
Mm-hmm.
Great pick. Chelsea have excellent fixtures, and I'm trying to fit him into my team in the next couple of weeks. You have Tony, you have Luis Diaz, you have Ramsdale. We'll talk about that. And another huge plus is you somehow fit Perisic into, who looks like he might actually start given that Sessegnon is injured. And I think Sterling and Perisic can make your season in some ways. So I see that opportunity, but can't you just get them with a -8? I guess is the question. But talk to me about like why you're thinking about wildcarding
So
into the
this
squad.
one of the things I was worried about talking to you is because you don't have Haaland, right? And this draft does not have Haaland. The other draft which I sent you has Haaland instead of Sterling, and that's the main difference between the two. Like, okay, if what I do with the extra 1.5 is the question, right? So this is the Haaland draft, which is like Haaland is going to be golden boot. I'm not as pessimistic about him as you are. He's going to win the golden boot. Plays for City. I don't care low block, high block, all that nonsense.
Wait,
Once
really?
they how to play with him, even if and he's not going to start 22 games. He's going to start more than that. He will get pulled off early. So there's a lot of reason for me to saying it's such an obvious pick. Why are you trying to be different and going Sterling? And my worry in this video is obviously that you'll support the crazy side and say, oh, obviously go
No, I'm
Sterling.
not going to support the crazy side. Absolutely not. I want to rationalize this. So I think Haaland is injury prone. So if Haaland
But
basically
he's not
is
injured
your
now. If he gets
he's
injured,
not injured.
fine. Yeah. So you can't. The whole thing about somebody is injury prone, okay, but not injured now. You're playing him now. When he gets injured, we have transfers. It's not like the end of the world.
No, I meant like he's injury prone in general. I think over the last 3 seasons in the Bundesliga, which is a less demanding league, where he did not have to play. Well, he did play Champions League, but obviously, it's
Far
German.
more.
He played in the German league. He didn't have to travel as much during weekends for away games, etc., etc. All those factors, and sure, like we're putting Bundesliga one level lower than the Premier League, right? In spite of that, he played, I think on average he started only 23 games in the last 3 seasons, in each of the last 3 seasons, which is a relatively low number. So that suggests that one, there is Pep roulette. Two, Pep is very, very particular about how fit his teams are. So even the slightest of doubts, Haaland's not going to start. So that's a big worry, and I don't want to go in with 10% of my team value not even starting. 14 or 15 games in a season. Granted, there are wild cards. You can wild card out of that, all of that. Second is the low block. I love watching City play. I watched that game against Bournemouth, and every time Haaland was inside the box, there were three Bournemouth guys on him, and that was like a blueprint that they followed throughout the 90 minutes. I mean, if you want to look at the opportunity, can you look at the runners inside the box? And that's what I'm actually waiting for more data on. Every time Haaland had the ball, he was kind of playing in that Giroud role where he was holding up play and then passing on to runners behind him. Runners being Foden, Gundogan, and obviously on the right, you had Cancelo going into the box too. So I
Yeah.
think with the low block, Haaland's, like City has never played with a target man. At least Pep City has not played with a target man. They played with someone like an Aguero who runs with the ball. Haaland's not a runner with the ball. He like stand there and wait for runners around him. So Um,
Aguero was like that too. I don't know where this notion of I've read it on, I think, on Athletic also, where they're talking about Aguero. It was only later when he had to drop back. But even then, when he dropped back, it's not like he was doing the Firmino things. All he was doing is coming back, passing to somebody, and going back into the box. And Haaland is basically one Aguero on top of the other. Like it's like that's what it feels like to me. Big guy, faster, and with same finish, if not better, finishing skills. So the whole I mean,
so
I'm trying to
Aguero, I feel like
make
was
the
more
case
of.
for Haaland, and I don't want to go with him on my wild card. So I'm caught between
No,
those two.
I'm not trying to dissuade you. Obviously, he's owned by 50%. It's the most obvious choice. I'm just trying to talk you out of wild carding because of Haaland. And if you want to, I mean, you already
No,
have
I'm
Haaland
wildcarding
right now in
because
your
of
squad.
Sterling, not wildcarding because of Haaland. If I'm wildcarding, I'm wildcarding for a lot of reasons, but out of those two players, I would wildcard because I want Sterling. Like
Mm.
if I'm
Do
just
you
keeping
think
Haaland, I might not just wildcard.
fair, fair? Do you think Jesus and Darwin, whenever he's back, will one match him in his returns, either in productivity of goals or like time spent on the pitch? And two, do you think they're actually good contenders for the golden boot towards the end? And how many goals do you expect someone like a Haaland to score?
Man, I really don't know. Like I think Haaland 25 goals. I'll say that now. Like Haaland's
Do you think
goal.
one fourth of City's goals are going to come from Haaland? I mean, assuming City will score
Well,
100
25
goals this
goals.
year.
Yeah, I think he can score 25. Everything that Pep says, he keeps talking about how he wants players to find him. And, like if Foden would have passed and Haaland would have scored, again, all these conversations. So I I
That
think he's
I
fair,
have no
25
idea
goals.
why Foden didn't pass it to him.
Yeah, so and they learn, right? These are the best players who've not played with a guy like Haaland. And with City for the last 5 seasons, the rule was if Aguero's fit, get him. Right? If Aguero's
Fair
fit
enough.
and guaranteed to play, get him. So why does that change for two Agueros? Like that's because Aguero is also injury prone, all those things. But if you're fit, you get him and you count on it. My
I
main
think,
reason
yeah,
for not going for him is only because I don't think I'll captain him because I'm that worried about how many minutes he gets and he keeps coming off. And the fact that Nunes is out. So because Nunes is out, I think Salah
yeah,
will see the old Salah again. The first two games were a little weird, where whenever Nunes was on, it just felt like Trent coming in way too much, Salah staying out wide. So I wasn't as confident on captaining Salah in all game weeks. But now that
yeah.
Nunes is out for 3 weeks, I'm like, I'm just going to captain Salah. So then,
I
I'm like, okay, I don't need Haaland. That's the roundabout way I'm justifying it, which still feels wrong because he's so good. And but that's my like way of convincing myself and saying, you know what, Sterling is somebody who people cannot get in easily and has great fixtures and is going to play 90 minutes. Like compared to like my wildcard draft is basically looking at there's only one guy who's not from the top 4 or 5 teams in Tony in that other
Yep.
draft. And Sterling's the most nailed player to start in that Chelsea front three with great fixtures. So I'm like, okay, I think I
Yeah,
will.
I think you're right. I am trying to. I think I said that I'm trying to get three Chelsea players, or two Chelsea defenders, and maybe a Sterling. I can't see a way for Sterling in my squad right now, and I would absolutely wildcard for him. To fit him in my team, but in about a couple of weeks. One more consideration, Sham, is I'm still not entirely sold on Tony, and in 3 weeks, you might want a way for Darwin to fit back into your team. And I don't know how you would do that. Would you do that by downgrading Haaland after seeing him for a few weeks? Or,
I won't have go to the other draft, which is not the Haaland draft, right? Because if I Haaland draft is a safe draft, which I really should be paying my attention to. But this is the draft I like more, which is the
I
Sterling
definitely
draft.
like this.
And so with Tony, uh, they have great
And
fixtures.
this is
One
you've
thing I know-
maxed out your money in the bank. You're playing
Yeah,
well.
yeah, no, nothing in the bank. And the thing with, like guys like Tony, I was thinking about it like when I was looking at last season, some of last season. These promoted team strikers, they get 150 points every year. Pookie got 150 points. Mitrovic, even though last time when he was at Fulham, even when he looked
Yep.
so shit, he still had 130 points. So I'm looking at that price bracket and saying these are guys who play 90 minutes. You don't have to worry about them. And Brentford seem fine. They have seemed like good fixtures. So I was like, yeah, fine. Just get him. And if it doesn't work, and I will go to Nunes, for example, in 4 weeks, if that's what it looks like, I can find 2 million. It's not that difficult because it's only a 2 million difference, right? From Tony to him. So I'm like, okay, so Sterling to another 8 million maybe by that time after Chelsea's good fixtures, or if that doesn't work out, or something like that. Like, I don't want to think so far ahead also to figure out
Yeah.
everything. Like, no point talking about Nunes right now. I already got him in early. I got a red card for it. And
But
so, and now it's
actually,
out.
like switching out of FPL mode, do you think Liverpool are a better team with Nunes in?
I think they're a different team with Nunes in, right? Like that Mane question of how do they replace Mane, and which Jota not being like when Jota's fit, when Firmino's fit again, I don't know how much Nunes is going to get, and the five subs is going to fuck with us. Like there's no question. These guys are pulling out players. They can bring fresh legs on so much early, change the game completely, and it changes. But when we're looking at captaincy picks, you want somebody who's going to play 90 minutes as much as possible. So I'm looking at that and saying, so Nunes I brought in specifically because again for the same reasons. I know many people have three Liverpool, so they can't get him in. Many people are not going to sell Jesus or Haaland to get Nunes in before he does anything more. So I was like, okay, there was an opportunity to get the main forward from a top two team earlier than others.
Yep.
Backfired, obviously, but I'm like, okay, fine. I'm okay with that decision.
We had this conversation on WhatsApp a while back. Like, let's try to predict the total number of goals a team is going to score over the course of the season, and what percentage of those goals or goals and assists do you expect your pick to score? I have this hot take hypothesis that Darwin Nunes will be more involved than Haaland in Liverpool's goals. Let's say that Liverpool and City are going to score 100 goals overall. I can pick about six players in Man City squad who might get more than 10 goals and 10 goals plus assists. I can probably pick three players in Liverpool squad
Mhm.
who will get more than 10 goals and assists over the course of the season. Obviously, Salah is one of them.
Yeah.
Darwin is the next, and then maybe it is Luis Diaz or Luis Diaz and Trent, both interchanged. With City, the big problem is like one, you're paying 11.6 for a Haaland, you're paying 9 for a Darwin, but Haaland has competition for assists and goals from KDB, Foden. Also add in your Grealish. I expect Grealish to have a massive season this year, but KDB, Foden, Grealish. Well, the Alcaraz guy, I don't know how much he'll start, but he'll definitely not get 10 goals plus assists. Am I missing someone? Gundogan is another player who will easily be on 10 goals plus assists. So out of the 200 returns that both these
Yeah.
teams will each have, how many of those do you expect to fall for someone like a Haaland versus someone like a Darwin? And then you do the math, and then you figure out, at an Arsenal, Jesus is probably going to be involved in 50% of goals, even though Arsenal are only going to score about 80 goals, which is about 80 returns total for him, right? Well, he's not going to get 80 returns, but you get the
Yeah.
point.
He's gonna get 25, maybe 15 plus 10.
I would think so. And then if you do this for all the top six, the two most unpredictable teams for me are Tottenham and City. And with limited budgets, do I really want to bet on their assets? And which is one of the biggest reasons why I have not gone Kane and Son, why I have
Mhm.
not gone Haaland and KDB. I really love those players. I just can't fit them into a £100 million structure.
Yeah, I mean, I like the way you're thinking about it, right? I get it, and I see how that's like correct in terms of if you're doing end of season predictions and trying to say, okay, where will people end up? But I don't know how to use that in FPL because we are not making season calls. We're making calls for 4 weeks, 5 weeks in most cases. Okay, in some positions you're making it for longer, like your fullbacks and your goalkeepers, etc., because you don't want to waste your transfers there. So I don't. I my problem is like I just don't know how to use that data of, even if you're correct, of saying okay, this is the goal involvement and this is how much they score. Like how do I actually use it? Because I brought in, if I bring in Darwin by oh, red card gone. Haaland gets injured next game. Doesn't matter if he's going to score 40 goals in all comps. Let's say 25 goals in the PL. It doesn't matter if he's not going to score them in the next 3 games. That's so like that's,
Yeah.
so I don't know how it's useful for FPL, except in
I
those
think
like Trent, Cancelo, those kinds of guys.
I think we can so I do like that time boxing it to about 5 to 8 weeks, and I feel like it's pretty easy to do, or at least like I've tried to do that in my head. So look, if you look at City's fixtures, great fixtures over the next. I do think that Newcastle will be a tough opponent for someone like a Haaland. They have big defenders now. Sven Botman is playing central defense. He's been good the first couple of weeks. Crystal Palace are a
He
shrewd
started only
defense.
one, I think. They played back
What
four
was
in the
that?
first one. Botman started only one. They played back four in the first one and back far, I think three at the back in the second.
Right. I do if Haaland starts, I do expect Botman to start. I think he's like a 6'3" tall defender. Yeah. I
That's
I might be
Dan
getting
Burn.
that. Was Is it Dan Burn? Okay, then maybe so basically like Newcastle have tall defenders. Crystal Palace have tallish
Yeah.
defenders. They will be all around Haaland. But anyway, like I expect City to score one goal over here. I expect them to score about a couple of goals against Crystal Palace. Expect them to beat like
But the same, okay,
Forest
so
and
this same Newcastle team, they beat what, 4-0 final last year? It's the same team. And they
is
have
it the same
Haaland.
team though?
Yeah, I mean, basically the same team. Bruno Guimaraes was there. The fullbacks are the same. Maybe Trippier was injured, but I don't think that changes a lot defensively,
They did
etc.
get Nick Pope. I think Nick Pope is a huge upgrade over Dubravka.
Yeah, okay, okay. I mean, I do, like. Why are we talking one specific game?
No, no, I'm just saying that over the next 5 weeks, I expect City to score 1, 2, 3, 3, 1. So that's basically I expect them to score about 9 to 10 goals in the next 5 weeks. And how many of those actual returns are you expecting someone like a Haaland to get? I'm saying that your predictions might be wrong, but at the same time, how close can you get to the actual number, and making your decision based on how many will a Darwin get, a Jesus get, a Haaland get,
Darwin,
and at the same.
Darwin, I can tell you, will get zero in the next three.
Oh, that's some great inside charm.
Yes. So why am I talking about things that don't matter? Okay.
No,
So
they do
okay,
matter. They do matter
wait,
because
wait,
I mean, you
help me,
you would use the.
properly. Help me properly. Compare Haaland to Sterling.
That's going to be very. So one, we haven't seen the full Chelsea yet,
Yes.
and
What do you
I
mean? Wait,
am
we haven't seen
very
the full Chelsea. We haven't seen Chelsea in easy fixtures. What do you mean we haven't seen full Chelsea?
well. We haven't seen Chelsea with Cucurella playing all 90 alongside your Mount, alongside. Well, basically, we haven't seen the first 11,
Okay.
and
Okay.
I
Yeah.
see
One or two
Cucurella.
changes. Yeah.
Yeah, one or two changes, but one or two very crucial changes, right? Like especially, I mean, there's talk of Aubameyang coming to Chelsea in the next week or so. What does that do to a Sterling? Would he move to the left? Would he still play as a false nine? What if Mount is hooked off? Where will Pulisic come into play? And by the way, talk of Pulisic going to Manchester United on loan, which is just the most absurd transfer news I've ever heard. Great for Manu, but horrible for Pulisic. Why would you do that to
Not,
yourself? But
it's not great for Manu either. But anyway, yeah.
yeah, but there are so many unknowns. It's very hard to predict what Chelsea are going to do. But I do like the pick I do like getting Sterling in basically before anybody else in the league gets him in, because their fixtures are phenomenal. Leeds are going to ship goals. Leicester are obviously going to ship goals. Southampton, we know it's an away game, but they'll still ship goals. West Ham, probably a tricky fixture, but so like and Fulham too.
Yeah,
So I can
that's also
see
a doubt. So it's always a weird game. That Chelsea West Ham game is always weird.
exactly, it's a London derby. Chelsea are playing at home. The only thing that concerns me is Chelsea only play 2 games out of the next 5 at home before they invite Liverpool. What does that mean for
Yeah.
Champions League? What does that mean for new signings? But I'm willing to ignore that for the upside of someone like a Sterling at 10 million. If Sterling were about 13.5 or 12.5, I would go nowhere near him. But Sterling at a 10 is like a very enticing option. And I would wildcard for him, but at the same time, I would also think twice, can you get him in with a -8? Because I think he's definitely worth a -4 or -8.
Okay, for sake of the video, let's assume I don't want to do -8. So I just want to make a Sterling versus Haaland decision.
I think Sterling and Haaland, or Sterling versus Haaland, because there is a way for you to also get Sterling and Haaland.
No, I looked at that. I don't want that.
You don't want that option. I think
Yeah,
Sterling
because
versus Haaland.
too many, and I'll tell you why. Because just too many compromises in defense to
So
do that.
let's say that you want to fight for your league position. You're sitting at 13th right now, but 75% of the league has Haaland. 75% of FPL managers overall have Haaland. Sterling's ownership last I checked was at about
Fuck, I'm
5%.
going to be ranked 8 million in 2 weeks.
You're not going to be ranked 8 million in 2 weeks, because I mean I saw parts of that. By the way, the Chelsea Tottenham game was probably the most entertaining second half I've seen in a long time.
Was
And
fun.
I know chances didn't necessarily fall for Sterling, but again, it was a weird game overall. I would, I don't know, like I've kind of talked myself into buying Sterling myself and staying away
See,
from
this is why
Haaland.
it's not helpful. I need somebody to sell me and tell me it's a stupid idea and to tell me to stick to Haaland.
I don't think it's a stupid idea. I don't think it's a stupid idea, especially when you consider that Sterling's England spot is in question before going into
No.
the international
Why?
friendlies.
Why?
Yeah, Sterling,
Why? Who's competing with him?
because well, one, there's Grealish on the left. You have
Yeah,
Mason
but
Mount, who occupies that
Sterling.
role on the left as
Sorry,
well.
Sterling's first
You
choice.
think
This
he'll
is so
start
good.
all three?
All three what?
All three. He'll start your Kane, Sterling, and forgetting the guy
Oh,
who plays on the right. Not
oh, isn't it
RLC, but
Foden?
someone else.
Foden, Grealish for one
Foden,
spot?
Foden,
Isn't
Grealish. Right, right, right,
it?
right.
And somebody else too. But yeah, I mean, anyway, like regardless, for Chelsea, he's going to play 90 minutes in every game or
Yep.
as close to doing it.
Regardless
Like,
of Champions
like
League, because they have no other option unless they get someone
but
like an
he's
Aubameyang.
super fit. He's super fit. Like we know him for a long time. Like Raheem Sterling is a known quantity. He scores goals. I bet he's got like 10 plus 15. He's got like 20 returns for City in spite of not getting the minutes.
Yep.
Where in like two-thirds
And
of the minutes. He's a known quantity. Chelsea are not good attacking wise. They're definitely not City, but they're also not good attacking wise. So I'm looking at that and saying, can I just get enough from him to compensate for Haaland and that 1.5?
so,
Yeah,
in
but
spite of
that
how shit Chelsea's attack was last year, they still
yeah.
managed to finish third on the XG table.
Yeah, I
And
mean, so the main problem is they don't finish their chances, right? So which is where
yep,
I'm hoping that Sterling is also not a good finisher, but he's at least average finisher. He's not below average. So I'm hoping that he's the guy who gets on those chances. Because that 67, that's
yeah,
the whole season, right?
that's for the whole. This is for the whole season.
Yeah,
They
so
scored
that's
76
good
goals.
Because Spurs you only have like half year Conte's data.
Yeah, pretty
Because if
much.
you have that second half,
Yeah.
then they'll be third, I'm guessing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I don't know, Sham. Like, I don't need to convince you. You've kind of talked yourself into getting Sterling.
Well, yes, that's why I wanted you to convince me the other way, but that's not useful. So this is 45 minutes
I
wasted.
mean, you knew where I stood on Haaland. I don't have Haaland in my own team, and I have $2.5 million sitting in the bank. So I can try getting Haaland in, but again,
Yeah.
it's not about upside chasing. It's not about trying to be different. I just see KDB as a better pick against a low block. Most teams are going to play a low block against City. At that point, I'd
I
rather
think
pick a
that's fine.
person.
That's a very fine call. Like in terms of KDB being better than Haaland, there's a 50-50 chance of that, right? And like this week, it worked out great for you when you captained him and got. So I think that's a totally fine thing to do. I'm just not.
Another question, Sham. I don't think we touched on it. Like the Sterling versus Haaland, there's a big 1.5 million gap
Yeah.
in price. So the question is, what are you going to do with that 1.5?
So that
Because it's not
that
just it's
yeah. Well, that's the main reason, right? It's not we did Sterling versus Haaland, but also that 1.5. That 1.5 gets me some 5 million keeper. Okay, so that could be Ramsdale, it could be Mendy, or maybe 4.5, whatever. A keeper upgrade that's better than the Leicester keeper. And okay, and now I want to switch to Arsenal because it gets me maybe Perisic. I still don't know whether he'll start, but I still like that risk. So like he's obviously a big risk, but I can easily downgrade him. But talk to me about Arsenal because if you say Saliba is as good a pick as a 5 million defender, for example, then I'm like, oh, okay, if Saliba is as good as any of those 5 million guys like Cucurella and all of these Walker, Perisic, if he's that good, then I'm like, okay. But I don't even or Zinchenko. Is Zinchenko nailed? So what is that? Talk to me about the Arsenal backline in general. Tomiyasu fit, Tierney fit. What does this look like?
it's going to be very confusing. I myself, in spite of like reading every single article about Arsenal, in spite of like listening to multiple podcasts on Arsenal, I don't know what the first 11 is going to be. Most people say that Tierney is a better left back than Zinchenko, and I kind of agree. Zinchenko is a better player, but Tierney is a better left back. So I know that Tierney is fit again, so he might come straight back in, which means that Zinchenko might replace Shaka in the midfield, on the left side of the midfield, which means, but that Zinchenko and Martinelli are just electrifying. Both of them together on that left side. I mean, one of the reasons Saka has not been getting a lot of ball
Everything's
time
going on
is
the left.
because
I saw that.
majority of the interchanges are all on the left. So I don't know if Arteta will actually change that winning formula by introducing Tierney into the mix along with Zinchenko and Martinelli, or just tried and tested formula is working. Let's see until it breaks. Let's keep doing the same thing. Um,
So
I
you're saying
do.
Zinchenko is not guaranteed to start every game?
I don't think he's guaranteed to start starting game week 5 onwards, especially with Europa in mind, because we don't have any other left back. One of those left backs is going to have to play Europa. It's not going to
And
be like a
midweek,
B team.
FPL midweek starts next week, by the way. So it's
Yeah,
already
yeah. FPL
yeah,
midweek starts next week. Yep.
yeah.
That's a really good consideration. On defense, Saliba, great 2 games, lovely, but he has a mistake in him. He's only 21. He's going to concede a lot of chances. As soon as he's kind of like Tavares from back in the day, right? Like Tavares had a complete, like he had a great first couple of games. Fans were behind him until he made that first mistake, and then things went south. So
He
is
was so
is
straight. Yeah, I wouldn't have imagined comparing Saliba to him. But if you're saying Saliba is that liable also, then I don't know.
he's absolutely liable. I mean, the own goal, granted,
Yeah.
it happened. The own goals happen by chance, but he should have never headed it back towards the goal, right? Like there were a
So
million other
Saliba's not
options.
so Saliba's not nailed, which means you're saying Ben White could come in there.
I mean, if you think about like the back five, the best back five, it's going to be Tomiyasu, it's going to be Ben White, it's going to be Gabriel, it's going to be Zinchenko, it's going to be your Tierney. I don't see Saliba as a permanent starter. He's definitely not going to start. Well, I
Why
can
do you
say for
say
sure
back?
that
Why do you say back five? You're not. You think he's going to switch?
no, he's not going to switch. This is just so that he fits Zinchenko and Tierney in the
Okay.
same team.
Okay.
But he might still might play the front, like the back four with like a. I mean, Shaka does go into defense every once in a while, so it's kind of like a fluid back four with a five in without possession. So that's another thing about Arsenal this season is last year Arsenal ended up playing without possession and hitting teams on the counter for majority of the season. This was against everybody in the top 10 this year with players like Odegaard, with Jesus, with Zinchenko. Arsenal are going to keep more of the ball, which means they are probably prone to counters. And they will be prone to counters. And Arsenal defense is not the quickest of all. And you've seen like the two goals that Leicester scored were
Yeah.
all from
Yeah, and
counters.
With Arsenal, I'm not expecting Chelsea, City, Liverpool level defense. Like that's the first thing, right? So I'm not expecting that those same number of clean sheets. You'll end up at probably 15. Chelsea, Liverpool, Liverpool and City around 18 to 20 usually, and Chelsea will be somewhere there. Like that's the
Yep.
usual clean sheet spread. I don't think that's going to change so much. So if Saliba is not a fit, so anyway, coming back to that 1.5, then that 1.5 of Sterling over Haaland is going to make that is where I want to gamble. Where
It is going to
I
be
have
very
to
interesting.
back
I would
myself.
definitely not. Sorry, I was going to say like to end that Ramsdale Arsenal defense
Yeah,
conversation. I don't think you should have Ramsdale in one. Like Ramsdale had a phenomenal first 25, 26 games last
yeah,
year, but the last 10 games he was absolutely shit. He kind of lost us fourth place with his performances against Crystal Palace, against Brighton, even against Leicester. I mean, the goal that Madison scored, it was on his near post. He should have
yeah,
absolutely
yeah,
not on his near post, but it went through his legs, right? So
yeah.
you have Saliba with an error in him. You have Ramsdale with an error in him. I wouldn't bank on Arsenal defense. One and two, Arsenal's front line are excellent. I don't see why people are going without Saka in the squad. It's only a matter of time before Saka starts performing. So if like one change I can see you do is subbing Luis Diaz out once Darwin comes back in and making Saka a more permanent fixture in that team instead of Luis Diaz.
Okay, that's maybe long term. Like I don't know. I mean, for now, I'm happy with Jesus and Martinelli. Like I know Saka
Great
can score
picks.
as well as them, but I don't want to have three Arsenal because after all, it is Arsenal. So it's not City
I do
or
expect
Liverpool.
Arsenal to score about 75, 80 goals this year, though. And I think it is going to happen.
Didn't we do the numbers in the break? Like how many did they score last few seasons? What did I say? Do you remember
Last,
that?
I mean, I don't have all the numbers, but last year Arsenal
Yeah,
ended up
yeah.
scoring 61, and I expect them to get at least 15 more. Conservatively, at least 9 more, but
Okay.
15 to 20 more. So let's chat at the end of the season. We are one Jesus injury away from a calamitous season, so uh,
Yeah.
anything can happen. But also, there is talk of Tielemans coming back staying in the Premier League and coming into Arsenal. That might. I mean, you asked about the first 11. It's going to be so unpredictable. 2 more weeks and we'll have more data.
Yeah. Okay.
And
Okay. So no Ramsdale for keeper. So look for another keeper. You're saying.
definitely no Arsenal defense, I would say. Ramsdale for sure not. I mean, Ramsdale might get a few shots to save, but you don't want to bank on those points.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm surprised you're not going in for someone like a Raya or a Sanchez.
Yeah. So I might. I was
Brentford,
just looking at that 1.5 and saying, where I would spend it is that goalkeeper and that fourth defender, right? Because it's not the rest of the team. I don't think I really want to change. So I'm looking at if I am going Sterling and taking that huge risk against Haaland, I have to back myself to spend that 1.5 for more points. And
is
I'm losing.
Cancelo a fixture in your team?
Yes, because he plays 90 minutes and I don't want to worry about it. He'll play every game. He plays for City. That's it. Right? Is could Walker or Ake outscore him in the next 3 games at 2 million cheaper?
They might,
Possible,
but
but too much. I don't want to take that risk.
too much of a headache.
Yeah,
I think that 1.5 can be used elsewhere. I do like the Perisic pick. I obviously like Sterling. Ramsdale can do with a bit of tweaking. So can Luis Diaz. I'm not entirely convinced about Luis Diaz, especially if we see Firmino come back into the squad and if Jota is fit.
but Jota's
Klopp
not fit,
might.
so like we know. I mean, for now, again, long term, so great.
But Jota is only 1 week away from gaining fitness and like actually starting. So he might come back into game. He might come back. May not be fit for three, but he might be in for four and
This
five.
was fine when Jota was playing last season, but anyway, Jota. I mean, at least for next 2 games, he's not going to play. And there's like Luis Diaz is nailed. He's not. He's going to get again close to 90 minutes, which is the first point. If with Nunez out, you're going to have Firmino or Carvalho playing false nine. More, at least the next game and the next couple of games till Jota's fit. If Jota comes back, he comes back into that role. I don't think like Liverpool can. They're already 4 points behind City. They cannot afford to not have their
Lose more
best 11
ground.
out there. You know, and I don't know if Diaz is the right pick. It might be Madison, who I really like. It might be Mount if he shows something in the next couple of weeks. But I'm just like that spot is not where I'm spending the 1.5, right? That's what I'm pointing to.
Yeah.
I'm looking at that 1.5 and saying, where am I spending it? Perisic is
Another good shout, Sham, would be convert that 1.5 into a 1.9. I think Cucurella is going to start all games. And if you're bullish about Chelsea's fixtures, Chelsea are going to keep a clean sheet. They're going to be attacking. Get him in instead of Cucurella. And then
instead of Perisic.
instead of Perisic and save you the point four, and then you can
Yeah,
make
so
upgrades
that's
elsewhere.
so Perisic. I'm going with this week, like only if I feel like he's going to start. I'm going to see what Conte said in the press and stuff like that. So if I feel like Perisic might start, which I think he will, because he's not started a single one yet, and they've got 3 games coming up soon. Sessegnon was bad, so I'm like, okay, if Perisic starts, but if he doesn't, or if I select him and he doesn't, he can still move to Cucurella on. So yeah, that's just, but that doesn't use. I still have money left after that,
You would
right?
have
Like,
about point four.
yeah,
I
but
think
you're
if you're
saying
playing
don't go
wildcard,
Ramsdale, right? Yeah,
yeah, and plus if you're playing a wild card, I think having money in the bank for
yeah,
potential price rises is also useful.
that's fine, I guess.
So I don't know. It's a conundrum for sure. I think I do need to head out, and we are closing in
Yeah,
on 60 minutes. As much as I love you, Sham, I think we should probably end on a high note. We'll start losing listeners, but I think my two
we
cents.
haven't got any listeners, so I'm not worried about it. Yeah.
Losing one listener is losing about 100% of our viewership. So I
Okay.
would, I would, I would be very sad. But I think my take is try getting Sterling in with a -4 or a -8. That's still an option for you since you've not turned on your wild card, and to wait for 1 or 2 more weeks until at least the in real life transfer season shuts. You'll know the incomings. Opportunities are going to present themselves. I can't
What?
believe,
Wait,
Sham, that
what is the poster quote you just said? Opportunities are what?
our opportunities will present themselves.
Oh, okay. Okay.
I can't believe, Sham, like I'm the one who's talking sense into you. Well, all these years it's been the opposite. I was kind of the maverick player who wants to try something different at all times. I still remember last year you were convinced that I was making
Yeah.
poor choices, going full tilt with my squad
No, not
selection, going
last year.
against
That
Salah.
was the year. That was. I don't remember when that was. Yeah.
It was last year. It
This.
was last year, and you were right.
Yeah. I always start seasons horribly, and it's only after like 6 7 weeks where I start improving anyway. So on one hand, I don't feel bad about it at all. I'm like, okay, whatever. I'm like, fine, And so then it's time to just have some fun.
Yeah, time to have some fun. I mean, we know that towards game week 38, you are going to end up in the top three of purity anyway. So might as well have fun along the journey.
Yeah, and we also know I won't get a trophy. So, chalo, bye bye.
You will not get a trophy. And one final thing I forgot to comment about All or Nothing, but as Arteta would say, Laka, what is important, the journey or the destination? And Laka's answer was destination.
I have Laka's hairstyle, and I have Arteta now talking to me. I'm done. Great, thank you.
You're done. Life's done. Sham, as always, very fun chatting. Let's do this more. I might have conundrums. I'll reach out to you. I'll reach out to folks. And also, everybody, wait for the template. Start doing your own shit. Get engaged with
And
the community.
yes,
And
and
let's
people
chat
try
soon.
and convince me that Haaland is a better choice than Stoney. I need somebody to talk sense. Okay, bye.
Awesome. Bye bye, all. See ya.